Welcome to the Honest to Godcast, podcast dedicated to learning the truth, and the truth will set you free. I'm your host, Stephen B. Hello, welcome to the Honest to Godcast. I'm your host, Stephen B. And today we're going to talk about some very cool information in the Buddhist faith and also a lot of misconceptions in the Buddhist faith, as well as Naree Pon. If you don't know what Naree Pon are, this is going to be a really interesting episode for you to watch. Um, when we, I spend a lot of time when we do talk about theology and a lot, and like in Christianity, because there's so many different denominations and so many different theological avenues that you can go down. There's a lot of misconceptions within Christianity itself, and it seems like within the other main religions, Islam, Judaism, and Buddhism, it seems like they all got bit by the same dog, as it were. For example, if I were to ask you who this fella is, a lot of you would say that this is Buddha. Well, this is not Buddha. This is Hotai. Hotai was a figure within the Buddhist ranks. He lived in China. He was very rich, very affluent, very eccentric. But just like today, when people see Hotai, they think Buddha. That's exactly what they thought when he was alive, too. He was very, very wealthy. He manifested a lot of things because of his level of enlightenment. And like, for example, when you see a lot of statuary and pictures of Hotai, you'll see children in the motif. And the reason for that is he was also referred to as the Chinese Santa Claus. Like if you found out that there was a child that was orphaned, homeless, that sort of thing, he would go build him a house. He was a very interesting individual. Now, his fellow monks thought that he was Buddha, just like today people think that he was Buddha. And it wasn't until he was on his deathbed that his fellow monks asked him, "Tell us plainly, Master, are you Buddha?" And he said, "No, I'm not Buddha. Um, I'm Maitreya. When I come back, I will be Buddha," which kind of leads in that last video, I believe, on typology. We talked a little bit about the Buddhist faith, and I showed that footage where Buddha Boy, the kid in Nepal, who they're claiming is Buddha, burst into flames. The flames burned up his clothing, but he was unharmed. And there were 59 people there with video cameras, phone cameras and so forth that filmed this. So it really did happen. So I don't know. He may very well be an incarnation of Hotai. But when we think about Buddhism, most people think that the main figure in Buddhism was Siddhartha Gautama, and he is absolutely the most well-known and revered figure in Buddhism. However, in Theravada Buddhism, it's prevalent in Southeast Asia. It's believed that there have been 22 Buddhas prior to Siddhartha, and these Buddhas are considered to have existed in previous eons or cycles of time. So, what is the difference between a Maitreya, a Bodhisattva, and a Buddha? They all three uh, share, commonality of enlightenment, of course, but there are some differences, and we'll talk about that. A Buddha in Buddhism, a Buddha refers to an individual who has attained enlightenment, also known as Buddhahood. The term Buddha is often associated with Siddhartha, like we just said, and he's the historical figure that most people know. And but a Buddha is someone who has awakened to ultimate truth and transcended suffering and attained complete liberation from the cycle of birth and death. That whole karma aspect of it. And Buddhas are revered as enlightened teachers who have achieved, wisdom and compassion. Well, number two would be a bodhisattva. Now, bodhisattva is an individual who aspires to attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. That would include the entire universe. There are beings who have generated the mind of awakening, and it's characterized by the aspiration to attain enlightenment and help others achieve liberation. Bodhisattvas are seen as compassionate beings who work tirelessly to alleviate the suffering of others and guide them on a path to liberation. They postpone their own enlightenment until all sentient beings are liberated. Now, Maitreya, on the other hand, is a bodhisattva who is regarded as the future Buddha. And that goes back to like what, Hotai here, my little buddy Hotai, is all about. And so the Maitreya, um, they they appear on the earth in the future, from their time that they're living. From that timeline, they go, to the future, and what their goal is to attain enlightenment and not transcend to a Buddha until a critical mass of people become aware. And so that's the difference between them. And so, like I said, there was, 28 Buddhas apparently before Siddhartha. And just to name a few of them, I can't really get into a whole lot of detail on all 28 of them right now, but they lived in different ages, different zodiacal ages, and different eons. But there was Buddha Kakusananda, there was Buddha Kassapa, there was Buddha Tissa, Buddha Siki, Buddha Vesibu. Those are just to name a few, but like I said, you can look up all these other ones, all these other 28 Buddhas. Kind of fits with one in my video on typology about how people believe that Christianity, or the idea of Christianity, started with Jesus. Well, it really didn't, because there were types and shadows of Christ inheriting the Godhead throughout different ages and different time frames too. And so when we talk about Buddhism and basically every other different kinds of religions, um, we always run into, this is interesting, we always run into tree narratives. Of course, if you read the Bible, you find out in Genesis that there's a tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. That aspect repeats in the book of Revelation. It talks about a tree whose leaves are for the healing of the nations. Now, since there's no tree that has a leaf that says Brazil on it or Chile on it or USA on it, we know that this is a parenthetical tree, right? It's more of a metaphor, really. They're all metaphors. But in Norse mythology, you have the world tree, the Sigrill, is a central figure. It's an immense ash tree that connects the 9 realms of existence and supports the whole cosmos. Trees in Celtic mythology, especially the oak, is very sacred. Trees are seen as a source of wisdom and connection to the spiritual realm. In Native American shamanism, the trees are like the elders of the elders, and very cool thing to meditate under a tree sometimes. In Hinduism, the banyan tree is considered sacred and is associated with various gods and goddesses. It's believed to be a symbol of immortality and represents eternal life. And then, of course, in Buddhism, under the Bodhi tree, Siddhartha, the historical Buddha attained enlightenment. The Bodhi tree is highly revered in Buddhism. And of course, in Christianity, like I said, trees play significant roles. Tree of life is mentioned, et cetera, et cetera. And this goes, gosh, it's everywhere. It's ubiquitous. All of these narratives and historical, myths, legends, and as I've said before, not all myths are legends and not all legends are myths. There's usually a tree involved. And I want to talk about, this is going to be a really, probably the most interesting part of this video, is the fact that there was a tree that Indra planted in a garden to protect a Maitreya figure, an historical Maitreya figure that was actually to protect him, actually grew women from the tree. And they were like little elves almost, but in every narrative on the planet, you have, like in England, you have your fairies, you have leprechauns in Ireland, you have brownies, you have elves. I lived in Costa Rica for a while, and down there they call them the azules because they're blue. And I actually, it happened, so I can't say it didn't, but I actually saw some little blue people when I lived down there, and that was before I even knew about the narrative. And a Costa Rican Tico friend of mine said, "No, this is part of our culture. We call them the azules because they're blue. The Spanish word for blue is azul, and so they call them the azules." And in Hawaii, they have the mini hoonies. It's just everywhere. But, it just sounds like it's so hokey, but there's scientific evidence that these women that grow on trees, they're called Naree Pon or Naree Pon. And they have actually even been examined, by different disciplines in science. So this is what the tree would look like. And these are some of the Naree Pon that they have in Thailand that have been studied, DNA tested, all of that stuff, and this is what they look like. And so it also reminds me of back when there was all this hubbub on the internet and on television too about what they thought was a little alien that you can see right here. And, they look similar. The Naree Pon look more like they come from a pod. And so the head is more wrinkled up there. But I think this is all part of the same narrative. And this was something I didn't even know about. I don't know how long ago it was, but it was when I was delving into misconceptions about the Buddhist faith and the Buddhist lifestyle, and I had no idea of Buddha, Bodhisattva, Maitreya, the differences between them or any of that, and I certainly didn't know about the Naree Pon. So when I found out this information about the Naree Pon, it was totally fascinating to me, and so it fits with the tree narratives that are in basically all the religions that that we talk about. We throw these terms around like we're it coming from an informed position, and but there's everybody has something to teach, everybody has something to learn, and anyway, I just thought that it was a fantastic romp through history to learn about these other Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, Maitreyas, and because let's face it, folks, something is going on. Things are starting to coalesce, and truth is truth. And there are revivals that are happening now among the Nordic people. There's revivals that are happening among the Buddhists. There's revivals that are happening among the Christians. And I just think that what it has to do with is the humanity's spirituality, if you want to call it that, is being raised right now. And I think it's just a wonderful time to live in. And anyway, this podcast is dedicated to the learning of the truth. The truth will set you free. Thank you for being with me. I'm your host, Stephen B. And I do appreciate you being here. Stay healthy and free. Bye now.